Hey, yeah, this is going to be commentary for chapter 60 of my book, Metadimensional, which you can find on Kindle or listen to for free as an audiobook. Links are in the description. Chapter 60 is called Skin in the Game Part 2. So, the previous chapter of Skin in the Game Part 1, I was talking about the first book, my first book from 2004, Delta Theory, and this one is about my second book from 2010, called Inconsistent. So, well, the background to all this is like the acknowledgement that if you're gonna take, that everyone has something to lose in terms of if you have something invested philosophically in anything that, in any theory that is different from this one, this theory will demolish it. And if you have something invested, it might, maybe even, your career, but or just your peace of mind invested in theories that are different, that are incompatible with this theory, well, this theory will demolish them, which is the reason why I can only speculate that no one found it particularly appealing to do, like to embrace this theory and just abandon everything else. So in the first book, in Delta Theory, I did this shortcut, without actually discovering how the world works. I said, okay, let's assume that the world is consistent, and if we start from there and everything is consistent, then okay, then what can that tell you about reality? And there's a lot it can tell you about reality, if that was true, but it's wrong. This is what the second book was realized, that it's wrong. It's wrong because, well, Gödel's incompleteness theorems, and actually you can find the limitations even about Gödel's incompleteness theorems. Just to clarify, if you have a theory that's completely rational and consistent, that it's a metaphysical theory, it explains everything about reality and it's all consistent. According to the Gödel's incompleteness theorems, there are things that are true in that theory that cannot be proven. So there's no way to show consistently that they are true. And this is a theory about reality. So there's any theory about reality is something that the theory cannot explain. But this is everything. So there's always something that is not explainable, not consistent, not rational. And if something is not consistent, not rational, then it's not consistent, not rational, and you cannot block it from doing A, B, and C. It becomes omnipotent by the fact that it's not consistent. And therefore, any attempt of science, of positivist science or whatever, to explain everything will fail necessarily. And you can start building a view of reality with that assumption in mind. Say, yeah, it's going to be something that not going to be explained. It's going to be omnipotent. And where is it in your theory? Because it has to be. Because if it's not in your theory, then you are wrong. There's something that is not, you cannot explain. There's something that's not consistent, not rational. Where is it? If you don't have it, your theory is wrong. That's the conclusion of inconsistent. And but the thing is, even after you understand, so all the people that are now have some investment in some kind of philosophical something that is not inconsistent and not this book, Metadimensional, then they have to go through the process of understanding that a project like Delta Theory will necessarily fail. So if they try, they should not. But then comes the next step, which is understanding that this next understanding that there is something inconsistent, that is limitless, that is omnipotent and all that stuff. That's also a wrong way of understanding reality, because omnipotence, it assumes a reality in which you are omnipotent, and a reality that is greater than mine, my own perspective or your own perspective, your own perception. And in the context of the wakeful union, where we all are shared reality, shared perception of reality, then yeah, there is a role for omnipotence. But the thing is, we constantly drift out of that reality. Like whenever we dream, of course, whenever we hallucinate, and whenever we even just think, we drift out of it. So omnipotence in that domain is not omnipotence, not really omnipotence. And but the thing, and the more important thing is that this whole thought that if something is perceptionally omnipotent, then it is actually omnipotent. Then it's a god. Then that's which is kind of like what I was aiming for with inconsistent. That's wrong. You are, I am, every experiential agent has the capacity to change the reality it reflects on, and by that change everything has complete omnipotence over the reality, their personal reality. That just follows from the theory. And so this whole and the whole analysis that I've done in that book, which is almost, you could say, religious in some sense. It was iconoclast. It was against all religions, but at the same time, like it's showing that they all have some kind of appeal to the metaphysical inconsistency, and that metaphysical inconsistency will inevitably demolish whatever morality they're trying to establish. And yeah, there is no morality that comes from the outside, because there is no outside. The only morality there is there, according to the theory, the morality that comes from our shared context, a shared semantic context, a shared dimension of experience, the experiential scape, all that stuff. So, and that's not imposed on us by an internal force. It comes from within. It's come from what we are. So yeah, I'm explaining that in this chapter, like all the problems that there are, that the second book had. And so now this is so if you're probably not believing in this book, in metadimensional, not in inconsistent, and not in the delta theory. So for you to come out of wherever you are theoretically, you have three steps to go through. Step number one is to try and attempt the positivist project to explain everything and fail. The second is to understand the role of limitlessness and metaphysical inconsistency in the reality you perceive and the reality that you measure. And think that you discovered like a God, and then realize that's wrong, and then realize that all the categories that by which you analyze reality, they all are, well, they might be compelling, but they are not binding. The only thing that is binding is the will and whatever comes from within. That's the only thing that is binding. Everything else, no. Yeah, and I can see how, like, with everyone having some kind of, again, something to lose by abandoning first positivism and science, and then abandoning their religiosity, the sense of the sublime, that instead of being outside becomes just you, but not in a sublime way, just mundane way. Yeah, it's tough to swallow for most everyone, me.